hit upside our head with whatever mama, daddy, or grandmother had. Now, looking back, we may say, man, you learned a lot from that. Or you could say, man, was it really worth it? Me getting beat with an extension cord because I said a bad word, right? So when you do some bad things, or when a child does something that's, not acceptable, it's an opportunity for us to have a teachable moment with them, to teach them, what is appropriate, right? Because we know that these children are not custody of the state by default, right? They're coming from situations where mom, dad, grandma, whomever, somebody victimizing somebody, was abusing drugs. It's endless reasons why these children are in there, right? Within the state, custody of the state. So we have to keep that in mind. And what I found when I first started with child welfare, that some of the children that we serve, they've been in 20, 30 group homes, foster care programs, residential treatment centers. And, with that, you become cold. You become numb to anything, to relationships, to having connections, to knowing what love is. And you know that if you love somebody, you put yourself out there and you want to fall back, that person who loves you is going to catch you. But if you fall back and that person that's supposed to love you isn't there and you just fall on the floor, you don't want to put yourself in a vulnerable position like that again. So really just trying to find out different techniques in terms of how to de-escalate some things, because when tempers flare and tempers get heightened and you start yelling and it gets really emotional, you sort of unconsciously or consciously try to one up that next person, right? You try to say, they say something to hurt your feelings. Say, oh, guess what? I'm going to say something to hurt your feelings even that much more. And a lot of times we have some difficulty with even expressing ourselves, right? Expressing ourselves to one another, right? We have an argument with somebody that we love, and, we can't even really describe ourselves. We say, hey, I feel like, you trying to, like I got hit by a truck, right? I feel like you trying to kill me. I feel like you trying to assassinate my character. And, at the end of the day, I don't know anybody who's ever got hit by a truck before and lived to tell a story about it, right? Or any of those other variables I just shared. But if you do tell someone that, hey, I feel hurt or I feel abandoned, I felt lonely or neglected. Those are things that, everybody has felt at some time in their life before. So if I say that to you and, we have a relationship with one another, how that feels because you felt neglected or you felt abandoned. So you got to throw out with all of this drama and being very dramatic. The brother said, man, you acting like a girl, man. They all dramatic, but we get dramatic too, right? When we don't know how to express our feelings. So it's really getting down to the core and letting folks know how we actually feel. So with the community, we get there with that communication breakdown. The communication breakdown occurs when you don't have eye contact with that individual. When you let distracting noises, you're having this real meaningful conversation with somebody, but you hear something and you're like, hold on one second, I'll be right back, I'm listening to you. That's not really being fully engaged with that person and what they have to say. The last training I did, I was here and someone was sitting here, a parent was there, and they were into me and what I was saying, but the guy was there and he kept going like this with his pen. And I'm like, look, man, you distracted me, so that's taken away from what other people are saying, And his wife was like, yeah, he does that all the time, and they tell all the time. But, sometimes we're unconscious with what we're doing. And, with my wife and I, when we have some arguments, some confrontations, all of those variables are all important. So if I'm sitting down and she's standing up over me like, look, I'm trying to tell you to listen. Like she has this authoritative role with me and I'm sitting down, so I'm submissive, right? I'm vulnerable sitting in this chair. So when we have these conflicts or discussing these things with our children in the household, it's good to just be strategic with how we approach them, right? So sitting down so we both are on the same level. So sometimes we say, hey, man, I'm the person, I'm the man, I'm the bread keeper of this house. I can talk to these kids however I want. No, if you just... These are some basic things that you can do to keep the peace in your house, because nobody wants to work for 8-9 hours and come home to be arguing with somebody for 2-3 hours, and then you're going to go to sleep, then you're going to wake up and have a stroke, right? Or have some high blood pressure or whatever. So these are some real basic things that you can do. So talking to folks, being on their level, watching the tone of voice that you have with them, because it can be frustrating. You ever been talking to somebody, having a heated discussion, and you're trying to say something that's really on your heart, but before you can get the sentence out, they start talking over you and trying to get their point across, and then you forget what you were talking about when it's your turn to talk again. It's frustrating, and it makes you more upset with that individual than you was in the beginning. So it can be extremely difficult with these young individuals that we work with. But again, we do have the upper hand. So it's for us to be strategic with how we talk and deal with them, because for one, we're adults. And plus, their brains aren't even fully developed yet, right? So how are we going to let somebody whose brain isn't even fully developed manipulate us and how we deal with them as adults, right? But these children are really crafty with how they can do it and really bring out the worst in us. But we have to know ourselves and really pay attention to our body language, right? So emotional intelligence, conscious use of ourselves. So really conscious. So if I'm having having a confrontation with, my foster child, again, I'm not going to step to them, making them feel threatened by me. I'm not going to poke my chest out or talking to them like, what you said? Like I'm going to, go and punch you or be nose to nose. Those are things that we can certainly, that we all have control over to be conscious of, okay? So the summary is the verbal de-escalation. Again, we're going to talk about those different tactics. We talked about a lot already. The non-physical part is really the most important part. So, just the communication, being effective communicators, really expressing what we feel and having some meaning behind it, and letting those opportunities be teachable moments for them. So it's not confrontational, and then let some things go. Right? With some kids, we got to let some things go. I got a 21-year-old stepson, and I learned a lot about myself when he was a child, when he was growing up, because, I would hold on to things that he did 2 months ago. And I would mentally have these things logged in my head. And when we have a conference, well, last month you did this and you did that. But guess what? Those things are all over. We resolved those things. So you don't have to have a playbook of all of the things that the kid did wrong, because you add these things up on them. They're going to feel inferior. They're going to feel neglected. They're going to feel helpless, hopeless, right? So it's not necessary for anybody to get injured, when you're having these disagreements. And, because that's important. So 10 plus years ago, when I first came down to Maryland, like in the late 90s, we would do physical restraints at the school where I worked at. It was legal to do it. Say it again?
Because you were a level 5.
Yeah, it was a level 5, right? So that was huge. So, restraining kids, and I found myself, I would go to work dressed like this. I don't know why. I had linen pants on. The end of the day, my pocket hanging down, blood on my butt. I said, hold on, I got to wear some jeans to work. Now, I had to learn that real quick. But I found that with certain kids that we were always in that restraining room. We would always go to that quiet room, always there on a regular basis. And then I realized that, man, this kid doesn't really want to get restrained. They want a hug. Right, but they don't know how to ask for it. They don't know what they need to do to ask for a hug. So they know that if they act a certain way, that they're gonna have this physical contact from me or from somebody else, because they would select who do they want to act out around to physically restrain them and have that one-on-one time to go to this quiet room and be with them for 6 to 8 hours a day. So that was something that I had to learn about and really try to utilize that as a teachable moment to say, look, man, if you want a hug, I will give you a hug. And you know what? Let me initiate it. Come here, man. Give me a hug, right? And, brothers don't want, but they'll come on in and they give you a little homie hug, but that's just enough for them to feel connected to them. Because again, just thinking about some of the things that the children come to the home with, coming to your doorsteps with, a lot of them may have, some attachment disorder, and you can see those. So really being tactful to see some of those nonverbal things from the child, that nonverbal communication that lets you know that they have some attachment disorder. So a kid that's sucking their thumb on a regular basis, right, wetting the bed, those are different symptoms of having some attachment disorder. Kids who are sitting down and they do this rocking like this, that's attachment disorder, because that's because mom and dad didn't do this. when they was little babies, right? They didn't rock them, they didn't soothe them, they didn't connect with them when they were really small. So, those things are all important. So really also utilizing a holistic approach with the child and finding out, hey, look, what are your interests? I remember back in the days, back in the late 90s when I first started, I went to did a home visit for this young brother. It was a first-time youth offender, and I went there before I could put my second foot over the threshold. His mama had told me everything bad that he did, right? Tell me how horrible of a child he was, how disrespectful he was. He got arrested, and he was the worst child in the world. And she invited me further into the home, and I looked around the home. I saw a bunch of basketball trophies on top of the refrigerator. Right, so she told me all these negative things about him, but she didn't tell me not once that this boy liked playing basketball. So as I connected with this child, I found out, I started asking questions about basketball. And of course, he wanted to tell me about it. And obviously, he was good because he had 50 trophies on top of the refrigerator hanging off, right? Mm-hmm. So, I utilized that as an incentive with him. Man, if you do your homework by this time, we can go out and shoot some hoops together. You think he did it? Absolutely. He was about it, but finding out what they like and not looking at them as monsters and looking at, because sometimes you read those, the paperwork, you're like, oh my God, this guy is off the chain. And really they are very, they're just children who have really been exposed to a lot of adult types of things. And look at it, just take a moment to put yourself in their shoes, right? And think about some of the things that they experienced and think of how you would handle that right now as an adult. But they're a child, and they're faced with those situations and how they're handling it, as well as their brain not being fully developed. So it's all of those different variables that they have to deal with. So that's why we have to be even more tactical. So just celebrating that child when they do some positive things, and really sometimes we do have to be a little overly dramatic, like in terms of celebrating them, giving the high fives, like, wow, good job, man, give me some, woo, right? But sometimes what do? We get off work and say, man, I was working all day, I'm tired, man, I don't got time for that. You be like, yo, that's what you're supposed to do, man. Keep it up, man. But you're compensating for a lot of time from when they first got in the system to right now. So you get somebody who comes into your house who's like 12, 13 years old. They've been in the system since they're 5 years old. That's like 8, 9 years that you backed up on, that you're trying to correct, because the goal is to help them to be functional citizens in society, right? Because they're not going to be, foster child in your home for the rest of their lives. They're not going to be a lifelong client, but we want to equip them with as much tools as we possibly can so that they can go out and get a job, so where they can have a family, so they can be functional and be the best, fathers and mothers and siblings and so forth as they possibly can. And we want them to just be successful, right? Mm-hmm. So, and a lot of it, the verbal de-escalation is like being a negotiator. It's negotiating with them. It's like, you see on these television shows, like these folks who take hostages, and it's like, what do you need? How can I help you? Help me help you, right? Help me help you get out of this situation, because that's what it is. It's like, help me help you, because I want to help you, but I can't help you unless you tell me what you need. And again, a lot of them don't have the ability or the skills to even express themselves, because, their parents model for them, their caretakers model some inappropriate ways of how to communicate with each other, right? I went to this home one time. I'm talking to a parent, right? Little brother is there. He's not the client, but the little brother is there, and he's tagging on mom's dress. He's pulling on like, Mom, he keep pulling on her, and she tells him, shut up, fool! I'm trying to talk to this man right here. Right? But that's how she communicated. That's how they communicated within the household. And that was acceptable, right? So do you think that she loved him any less because she talked to him like that? No. But that's how, she spoke to him, because 9 times out of 10, that's how the people who raised her, that's how they talked to her. So that was normalized with her. And that's how she's talking to her biological child. So a lot of these behaviors are learned, right? So we learn how to be parents from our parents, and they learn from their parents. But with us, it's our role to help break that chain, right? It's up to us to break that chain. Okay, so without any specialized trainings, right? If you haven't had CPI trainings when you've been trained to restrain somebody physically, you shouldn't do it at all. okay, you shouldn't do it at all, because guess what? You could really injure somebody and you'll have a lawsuit on your hands, right? I'm the master of restraining folks, right? I did it. I'll lock you up and do all of this thing and get you calm and talk you down, but it's a skill on how you can do it. But also, if you don't know how to do it, you can break somebody's arm. Right, you could fracture somebody's elbows. You can do those things. So again, you really have to be tactical with your approach, and that is absolutely like the last resort. And because there's a way to do it, like you don't grab somebody's neck and hold them down, but you have to have that proper training. If you don't have that training, don't even put your hands on them. I'd rather you guys call 911 prior to putting your hands on them if you don't have that training, because I would hate for you guys to be in handcuffs because you were trying to discipline the child, do something that was, within their well-being, but you ended up hurting them by accident, but you get punished as a result. Okay, so de-escalating positively. Okay, so here's some positive examples, some positive things that you can tell them. Again, I want to help you. I'm trying to help you right now. I want to help you. Okay, please tell me more so I can better understand what you need so I can help you. Okay, let's call Mr. Smith. I know he would be able to help us with this problem. So if they got a connection with somebody, they're social workers, Mr. Smith, they need that assistance. We need to call Mr. Smith in here and have him be a part of it, because it does take a community. And again, it's a holistic perspective. So we want to use a strength-based perspective. So focusing on all of this child's strengths. So knowing what is this child's strengths? What are they interested in, right? Mm-hmm. Because once you know that, that's what you can utilize to help you help them. If you don't know what this child is interested in, you can't help them because you don't know this child. Right, so knowing what people within their life, like within the school system, within their community, within their biological families that they have strong ties with, you need to know the whole fabric of this child. Again, putting yourself in their shoes and knowing that they came from environments where they had some learned helplessness and learned hopelessness, right? Because we know in a lot of our communities, there are kids that feel that they will never get a job. Right, that by 21, they'll be dead by 21. So they turn 21 and they waiting for the confetti to come out the sky because they're alive. Right, they're waiting for a big celebration. And and unfortunately, a lot of things that happen within some lower socioeconomic communities are celebrated. Right, so you get a 15-year-old girl having a baby. Right, they want to have a humongous baby shower. Right, because 9 times out of 10, there ain't no graduations going on. Right? Somebody goes to jail. They party before they go to jail, and they party after they come home from jail, right? I came home from college, and folks are looking at me like, man, you think you better than anybody. I'm like, where's the confetti? Where's the 40 ounces? Where's the celebration? I did it, man. I did it for us. It's like, no, nobody did that. So active listening, really being able to be an active listener, right? So being able to show them that you are connected with them, the nonverbals, right? So if you're talking to me and you're sharing something that, again, that's on your heart, I'm gonna, go like this, like to let you know that I'm engaged in what you're saying. Like, I feel you. Like these kids, they say that on a regular. Like, I feel you. You know what I mean? Or I'm not feeling you, but you go like this. You're letting them know that you are connected with them, right? Mirroring, which is also a good skill. And some folks think that it's, it could be looked at different ways. So it could be like mocking or so forth. But can you come on here?